On July 20th, 1969, Buzz Aldrin became the second person ever to set foot on the moon, one of the most significant accomplishments that would eventually get him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And by August 2016, Michael Phelps becomes the most decorated Olympic athlete of all time with 28 Olympic medals. And in 2009, Michelle Obama becomes the first person of color to become First Lady of the United States. Now, these are examples of people in our generation who attained the most unattainable feats in their fields. And yet, Buzz Aldrin would come back to Earth, struggle with alcoholism and depression, and Michael Phelps would go on to say that he was glad he didn't take his own life. And very recently, Michelle Obama disclosed that she had low-grade depression. Now, how do these people's struggle with meaning, purpose, and satisfaction apply to our own journey in life? Think about that. Well, hey guys, welcome to our first ever podcast titled Soul Thirst. Super excited to be here. My name is David, and we have our pastor Landon over here.
Yeah,
Welcome,
man.
dude.
Thanks, dude. You too, man. Excited for this. Yeah, this is something we've been talking about for a long time, so I'm pumped to get this thing rolling, man.
Absolutely. So, at the outset, let's talk a little bit about the name itself. Soul Thirst. What does it mean? What is it all about?
Yeah, I think it's an unusual name, but I think it's meant to speak into this reality that no matter how much money, power, sex, or success we have, we achieve, or we can attain, the truth is it's never enough to really satisfy the deepest longings of our soul. You know, just deep within us, there is this hunger and this thirst for peace and purpose and meaning and satisfaction. And unfortunately, I think we have placed far too much value in the trinkets and treasures and pleasures of this life, believing that somehow if we just get enough of those or the right kinds of those, man, it really will be enough for us. And yet our experience in life individually, but I also think even in looking at celebrities and these people you were talking about that have kind of achieved the highest measures of success in their field, all of us, I think, would have to testify and say, it doesn't matter. It's still not enough. There is something more. And so I think Soul Thirst is just meant to kind of tap into that reality and say, you know, because we're not just physical, ultimately we're spiritual. The things that are physical have no ability to satisfy the deepest longings of our hearts and souls.
You know, that actually reminds me of one of the most iconic stories in the Bible, the story of the woman at the well.
Yeah, it's a great one.
So this lady, she had been married 5 times, and of course she would have wanted to find identity and meaning and purpose in relationships, marriage, with men, things of the world.
Right.
And the person who she was living with wasn't even her husband.
Yeah.
So goes to a well, and she meets a man named Jesus over there at the well, and she is beginning to draw water from the well. Jesus asks her to give her a sip of water, and she tells Jesus, you don't have anything to draw water from. And Jesus, in reply, in turn tells her, if you know who it is that is asking you the question, you would be asking me.
Asking me for water instead of the other way around.
Yeah. And he eventually talks about the spring of living water, the water that satisfies the deepest longings of the soul.
Yeah.
So with that story as the backdrop, how does that apply to us? How does that contextually apply to our own life?
I think the truth is, in this story, we are all the woman at the well, right? Like, we may not have been married 5 times and living with a dude that's not our husband. That may not be the path that we've walked yet. But the truth is, we all have our list of things that we think, if I can just get that, achieve that, and do that or have that, it will be enough. And so for some of us, maybe it's more career oriented. For some of us, maybe it's relationally oriented. For some of it's more economic oriented. If it's, an issue of, man, if I could just get this job, have that house, marry this spouse, send my kids to that school, afford this vacation, retire at this age, then that'll be enough and I'll be really happy and satisfied. And yet the truth is, it's a fool's errand. None of those things can ultimately, deeply, lastingly satisfy our soul. They may provide some temporary measures of enjoyment, but it'll never be enough to truly keep us settled within our own hearts, knowing that what we have is enough. We need something more. And the truth is, I think we need someone more. And that's what Jesus was really pointing to, right? Like, he's like, listen, ultimately, I am the only one that can satisfy your deepest thirst. Your great thirst is not physical. It's not something that a cup of water can satisfy from this well. it's a spiritual thirst and hunger, and that's something only I can satisfy within you. And so, yeah, man, I think in terms of how do we apply this to our lives, it's, first of all, just the recognition we're the woman at the well. We're still searching and longing. And it's perhaps the humble position to kind of turn to someone else, turn ultimately to God and to this person of Jesus Christ to see, can he really be the one thing I've been looking for all along?
Yeah, thanks, Landon. That was great. And thanks, guys, for joining us and sticking around. Welcome to our first podcast again. And if you like this, if you feel that this was a blessing, stick around for more upcoming podcasts where we'll be talking about God's perspective on how he can fulfill the deepest longings of our soul.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. And hopefully you guys will stay with us through this.
Yeah, and feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you around soon.